You got the last word
repeatedly,
again.
Falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I
you
said
did
that
say
sarcastically.
That.
You know that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look,
I don't acknowledge
so much proof.
I
All you have
lost
to
the
do is
last
look at
election.
it, and they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval.
With
I got
the
almost
fake-
75 million votes, the most votes any city
should just get
president
arrested
has
for this.
ever gotten. I was told
That's
if I got
it.
63,
Prison
which
rot
is what
for the
I
rest
got
of your
in
life.
2016, you can't be beaten.
And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges.
63.
Many
The
of them
judge looked at it.
and said
they
there was
said
no
we didn't have
widespread fraud.
standing.
Not true.
That's the other thing.
What does standing mean,
They
Trump?
said we
What does
didn't have
standing mean?
standing, a technicality.
On which technicality?
Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The president of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost.
For what? You mean a candidate, right? Why would the president have standing? God, he's so stupid.
If you look at the facts, and I'd love to
He's
have
so
you do a special
stupid.
on it.
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States. And world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump.
Oh,
I have talked
he
with
doesn't
military
like that one.
leaders,
Oh, no.
some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost
True.
because you did, in fact, lose that election.
True.
It leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just say about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected
Oh, my
men.
God,
they call him
really?
a strong man. He's a
Yeah,
tough person.
Viktor Orban, that's who you're going
Smart.
to? Are you going to say Putin
Prime
next?
Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago, it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president. We had no problems when Trump was president.
No
But when
problem. The
this
whole
weak,
world was at
pathetic
peace.
man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes. They threw him out. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but
Mr.
I'm
President,
okay with it.
We know you
because
don't.
Your time is
I
up.
think we're
Thank
going to
you.
do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now
Yes.
to the Israel-Hamas war. And the
Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out at the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office. You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home.
Three
Is there
hours.
anything you regret about what you did on that day?
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her. It's a disgrace. But we didn't do this group of people that have been treated so badly.
It was Antifa?
I ask,
Is he going to try to
what about
squeeze?
all the people that are pouring into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in? She was the border czar. Remember that?
Oh, back to immigration.
She was
Back
the
to
border
immigration.
czar. She doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning, "Oh, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet." That's because she knows what a bad job they've done.
But let me just ask
You might ask her that question.
You were the president. You were watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
No.
Yes, sir.
I had nothing
Illegal
to do
immigration.
with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do
That's
her
not the
job.
chain of command.
question
Ask about the
was
chain of command.
you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi. But I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on
Oh,
that
and I
day,
walked by a pipe bomb
the
20 feet
President
away
of the
from me.
United
Pipe bomb
States
20 feet away.
incited a violent mob
Yep.
to attack our nation's capital, to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. And understand, the former president has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason. But this is not an isolated situation.
He wants to say
Let's
something.
remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate.
Oh, she's going to do the...
And what did
Trump
the
said that there were good
president
people
then
there.
at the
This
time
always riles up
say?
the conservatives.
There were fine people on each
Oh,
side.
the Trumpers
Let's
really don't like this
remember
one.
that when it came to the Proud Boys, a militia, the president said, the former
Stand back
president said,
and
stand
stand
back and stand by.
Bye.
So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th was, I say we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you to stand for country, to stand for our democracy, to stand for rule of law, and to end the chaos, and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking. Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back. Let's chart a course for the future and not go backwards to the past.
Let me just
Don't let
follow
him get
up
the
here.
last word on this, too.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where bloodbath was. Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this. You talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing it? And I'll tell you what I would do.
I'm sorry. I have to rewind all this again. Let me tell you about the Capitol. Why are we letting all these people...
It was debunked in almost
Hold
every
on.
newspaper.
I gotta hear that again.
But they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this. You talk about
You talk about the Capitol?
Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The President of the United States, you'll get him out of bed, you'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you'll say, come on down to the office, let's sign a bill.
How are you going to solve
October 7th,
Israel-Palestine?
Hamas,
Let's go.
a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis, many of them young people who were simply attending a concert. Women were horribly raped. And so absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Because it is also true, far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end. It must end immediately, and the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that. Work around the clock, also understanding that we must chart a course for a two-state solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and in equal measure for the Palestinians.
I
the day
believe
before,
that
okay.
Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that
Really?
one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because the
She
whole
hates them both.
place is going to get blown up.
Epic.
Arabs, Jewish people,
Christians.
Israel will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took
$300
off all the
billion.
sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of terror, and they are spheres.
Jong-un.
Ooh.
And it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear they can manipulate you with flattery and favors. And that is why so many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace. That is why we understand that we have to have a president who is not consistently weak and wrong on
Vice
national
President
security,
Harris.
including the importance of upholding and respecting in highest regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
They're the ones.
I appreciate that, Destiny.
All right, bye.
Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so that my videos show up right in your feed.